Hello students, welcome to our afternoon read aloud. This morning I promised you that we'd be learning about another famous American super scientist, and today we're going to learn about George Washington Carver, not George Washington, George Washington Carver. And we can see from the heading, he's a man of science. He was a man of science. There I see a picture of him, and here I see some peanuts, because in fact, he had a lot to do with learning all about peanuts and other very important plants. And here's a picture of him when he's older, I think in his laboratory. Oh, there's some sweet potatoes, and some paint, and some soybeans. Edamame, anyone? Okay, let's read. Here we go. Do you like peanut butter? George Washington Carver spent his life working with peanuts and many other plants. He also became a teacher. Carver was an African American who loved plants. He wanted to learn everything he could about plants, so he studied science. He was always asking questions. Carver had so many great ideas. He came up with over 300 ways to use peanuts. He also made 108 products from sweet potatoes. He even learned how to make paint from soybeans. George Washington Carver was a wonderful teacher and a great inventor. So he was a great scientist and inventor. And we're going to start learning about him from this biography, George Washington Carver, by Martha Rustad. Oh, and on the title page, another picture of him. That's an interesting thing to compare. This is a picture when he's older, and this is a picture when he's younger. Oh, table of contents. Boyhood, school, helping farmers. Words to know, read more. Internet sites, index word list. Okay, so we see a timeline, and it looks like he was born in 1864. And there's like a little kind of a farmhouse. It's a little bit like a little log cabin. I'm making a connection to Abraham Lincoln. Let's read. George Washington Carver was born in 1864 in Missouri. He was a slave. He lived on a large farm. So I got to stop and think. He was born as a slave, right? And here's a caption. It says, this is a painting by George of the farm where he was born. So he was also an artist. Wow. Okay, here we go. George liked to grow plants and study them. He wanted to learn more about plants. He left the farm in 1875 to go to school. Okay, and there he is looking a little older, not a kid. And here it says 1875, leaves the farm. Oh, there's a building, looks like a school maybe. Most black people did not have the chance to go to school. George went to schools in Missouri and Kansas. He studied hard. So those are states, Missouri and Kansas. And this is the school George went to in Minneapolis, Kansas. And here on the timeline, we have the next event. This is when he attended schools, 1877, 1884. And remember, with dates, I've been reminding you about this. When we read the year that's a date, we say the first two numbers together and then the second two. So that's 1877, that's 1884. Let's keep going. Uh-oh, cat alert, hold on. Phoebe, you're interrupting our important learning, so you need to skedaddle. Okay. George finished high school in 1884. He went to college in Iowa. He studied painting, plants, and farming. George finished college in 1896. George began to teach at Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. Tuskegee was a school for black people. George taught students about plants and farming. And there you can see a group picture, and they've circled who George is right there in the corner. Many farmers in the southern United States grew cotton. That's what cotton plants. Remember, cotton is what they grow to make the threads that make cloth that we use for cloth and clothing. Cotton. But cotton stopped growing well in the late 1800s. The soil was no longer fertile. George wanted to make the soil fertile again, and the caption says cotton field. So fertile means when the soil is good and healthy and can grow things. But they'd grown so much cotton over and over and over again, it took all the nutrients, the healthy things out of the soil that the plants needed to grow well. They weren't growing well. George taught farmers about other crops. Farmers started growing peanuts and sweet potatoes. These crops helped make the soil fertile again. So isn't that amazing? Some plants, and there he's holding, I think, a sweet potato. Some plants, when you grow them, instead of taking nutrients out of the soil, they put healthy things into the soil. And that's what the sweet potatoes and peanut plants did to make the cotton soil fertile again. George showed farmers how people could use peanuts and sweet potatoes. He made cheese, ink, and soap from peanuts. He made molasses, rubber, and glue from sweet potatoes. And let's just glance at the timeline again. Here we are up to 1921. He becomes famous for his peanut research. George Washington Carver taught at Tuskegee Institute for 47 years. He died in 1943. People remember him for helping farmers. George is famous for inventing new ways to use crops. So that's another thing to keep in mind, that foods like peanuts and sweet potatoes, plants we grow, and we think of them as just food, but they also can be used for many other things. Like remember this picture here where soybeans can be used to make paint. Okay. Oh, we got a lot of words to know, but we actually know most of those words, okay? And that's it in the index. So that was all about George Washington Carver. And I think one remarkable thing about him is, I'm making a connection to Frederick Douglass because they were both born enslaved. We'll learn a little bit more. George Washington Carver was a little lucky that the family he was enslaved to treated him well and helped him learn, gave him opportunities to learn. And he knew, just like Frederick Douglass did, learning was the most important thing to help yourself and to help others gain freedom and make progress. In George Washington Carver's case, he was helping farmers, right? And farmers are really important. So I hope you enjoyed our afternoon read aloud. Don't forget to keep washing your hands, cover your coughs and sneezes, do some reading, do some writing, help your family around the house, and I'll see you tomorrow. We could also take a look at someone else right now. Let me see. Ta-da. Look who's here. She came back. She climbed right up that tree again. That's why it wobbled during the read aloud. You want to go rest on your tree, little Miss BB? Yes. Okay. Can you wave goodbye? Bye. Okay. See you all later. Bye. You gonna wave? Bye. She says, let me go. Okay.